My name's Jimmy Gonzalez, like doctor now?
No,
No.
say-
Okay.
say art.
Like Art introduced me. We go back a long time, and he approached me and he said, "Well," he said to me, "Jim, why don't you? I need you to talk to my students about college. Why you decided to go to college, and the issues and the challenges that you had." And I said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." And up until May about 30 minutes ago, I was still in my pajamas, not even shaven, with the dog on the bed. And I said, "All right, cool, I'm down." So here we are. And I decided to go to college because I figured I had to do something with my life. I can remember right after high school, and there's a famous saying that says, nothing would ever get, if it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would ever get done. Yeah, completely and totally true. Okay, right after high school graduation, or even before high school graduation, I don't know if you guys can kind of think back a little bit. You had counselors telling you, you need to come in, you need to get your transcripts, you need to apply to colleges, you need to do this. No. I said, nuts to all that, forget it. So I graduated, and by the time I was done, I said, I guess I'll go to college. Part of the reason, a big part of the reason I went to college also, I think, is because my parents. My parents pushed me, and what they said to me was this: okay, we want you to be something better than what we were, but look, we only have a high school diploma, and look at what we have. My parents managed to put my two other brothers through college. All their cars are theirs. They own a house. They had land here, land there, in Juarez mostly. And fine. And so they said, you know what? And we've managed to do all this without a college education. But here's the thing you have to realize. We worked really, really, really hard. He said, if you don't go to school, well, no, you're going to school. That's all there is to it. But you're going to work hard. We didn't go to school, but we worked hard, and we still work. As a matter of fact, my dad's 73 years old. He has a shop down on Alameda, and he's still working to this very day. Gets up super early, goes out there, bears all the cold, all the boiling hot. Go out there, he'll fix your car. Does a great job. Enough plugging my dad. Anyway, but so I figured, I have to do something with my life, and I've been strangely fortunate. I remember the first job I ever worked was at Consumers Ice on Texas and Alameda, right there, like over the, you know what I'm talking about? Like by the Sunbeam, I guess, bread factory or whatever it is. Across the street, there's an ice house. I worked there in that one summer of 1994 where it was like, what was it, over 30 days of 100-degree weather. It was like, I guess, one of the most record-breaking summers. But so I worked there. And I worked in the freezer. Sometimes I worked in 8-hour shifts. Sometimes I worked in 12-hour shifts. And I said to myself, no, this isn't for me. If I have to do it, I will, but I need to do something else. And so I decided to go to college. And I got signed up for college at the very last minute. I was filling out applications in June and mid to early July, and then I got accepted probably about the third week of July. Oh, by the way, you have orientation. You need to be here. When is it? In 2 days. Great. I quit my job, and I went to orientation. And then I got involved in different things at UTEP. And my big thing was I was in the band, and I majored in music. I should have been an engineer. Okay. And so fine, and I did that. I became a teacher, this, that, the other. Here we are years later. Some of the challenges you're going to face in college, you guys are here. Definite step in the right direction. Good. Okay. Some of the challenges you'll face, how many of you guys have kids? Yeah? Okay. Kids are expensive. Okay. Kids need your attention. Kids get sick. What else do kids do? Kids cause trouble. Yes, you're absolutely right. And if you have older kids, you'll get calls from the office. Oh, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, your kid got in a fight, this, that, the, okay, fine. And what I say about kids is this: kids are wonderful, kids are a blessing. If you have a support system to work with, milk it for all it's worth. If you have, very proud grandparents willing to take care of their grandchildren, hijo, mom, can you do me a favor, hook me up, take care of mi hijo, mija, I have to go to school. and they might actually be willing to help. If you have proud aunts and uncles, milk it for all it's worth. You know what? He loves you so much. Here, spend some time with your niece or nephew while I go to class. There's, kids, like I say, kids are a blessing. I have one myself. He's very expensive. Make sure you have, I'd say have some kind of support network, and then my current wife, she didn't have so much of a support network, and she tells me stories about when she went to college, and she raised her daughter very well, and she'd tell me she went to UNM for a while, University of New Mexico up in Albuquerque, if you guys have ever been up there. Very pretty up there. And she said, you know what, there'd be days I wouldn't have anyone to take care of Vanessa, my daughter, so I had to go ahead and I had to take her to class with me. And so you can imagine, 20-some-odd-year-old woman taking her 5 or 6-year-old daughter to class, and here she is. You better not say anything. You're going to get it when we get in the car. No, I don't know what she said. That, if you've been brought up in Hispanic families, it was always, if you misbehave, just wait till you get to the car. Wait, or better yet, I'm going to tell your dad when we get home, and then you always wound up getting it, right? So, if it comes to that, fine, but being in class is very important. I teach high school students myself, and high school students, or at least the ones that I've encountered. Of course, I've kind of dealt with like the more challenging high school students that have had issues and whatnot. And school seems to be an option, and I think part of that is just because they're young, very, very young, and they haven't realized, well, you know what, education, really is a future in education. And so they go off and do all other kinds of things that kind of hold them back. And then eventually, it's kind of nice when you see them snap and then, oh my God, I do need to do something with the rest of my life. And they actually start showing up to school and they start trying and they stop getting high before class or whatever it is they like to do. You think I'm kidding? No, seriously. Okay. So there are some definite challenges. My challenges were probably one just because of what I majored in. I majored in music, and as a music major, you're expected to practice a certain amount of hours per week, per semester. And lots of times I couldn't meet that just because I was working at the same time to pay off school. I used to wash dishes when I was a kid in college. And if you guys I don't know if you remember Jackson's? No? Yeah? Kind of, sort of? That's where I used to work when I was a kid. The one that was up by UTEP. It's like like an Angry Owl Cafe now or something. Some amazing thing like this. And fine, so I'd finish all my stuff at school. By the time I was done, it was like about 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock, I had to be at work. 5 o'clock to close. Could have been 11:30, could have been 1:30 some days, just depending, and so fine, I do that all week and mostly on the weekends. And then I have to brush everything off, take a shower, get ready, go to school, show up dog tired. I worked at Village Inn once, and that was where I encountered graveyard shifts. Those were so much fun. You start at 5 in the morning on a Friday afternoon, you get out at 6 in the morning on Saturday. Then you go back again on Saturday afternoon, you come out Sunday morning at 6 or 7. Then you go back for that one last shift on Sunday night, and then you have to go back to school the next. And I'll level with you, I think I was too tired at the time to really get the most out of my classes. So in which case I kind of said to myself, well, you know what, that's enough of this. I'm just gonna be like the rest of my friends and any other typical college student. I'm gonna take out a bunch of loans. And I'm gonna let Uncle Sam pay me while I'm going to school. So I applied for student loans, all kinds, probably more than I should have now. But at any rate, so fine. And I stopped working and I managed to put in the hours I needed to put into being I guess a music major and graduating and practicing and getting to be real good at what it was I did. As far as college goes, I assume most everyone's here kind of barely getting their foot wet starting out some, okay? We don't have any professional students here. You know what I mean by professional students? You ever heard that? Professional students are the people that go to college for just the longest time on the face of the earth, and that's all they ever do. Let's give you a little bit of information about me. I went to UTEP. It took me 7 years to get my bachelor's degree. Normally it takes about 4 to 5, depending what you study. It took me 7, okay? I went to UTEP yet again. I got a master's degree. It took me a year. Actually, it took me 2 years. But I was more focused as a graduate student. And I was working too. I did these online schools. That was nice. But it was a challenge. You have to learn, one, how to manage your time. You have to learn how to put things off. And prioritize. As well. Maybe it's really important that I get my paper done instead of going to the party tonight, or whatever the case might be. Or it might be really important for me to get my paper done instead of watching the Super Bowl, or I don't know, whatever. But I think a lot of what it is, anybody can do anything that they want to do. You just have to be able to focus on what it is you're doing, and just have at it. Keep going, keep going, keep going till you finish. Time goes by quicker than you think. I can remember back when I was 18, 17, 19, like it was yesterday, and here we are 20 years later. Time goes by, and then all other kinds of different things come up too. You get married, you have kids, sometimes not necessarily in that order. That's fine too. But things come up. But the bottom line I found is you have to figure out what it is you want to do in life, and then you just have to have at it. You have to go. If you have to stop and take a break, that's fine, but you can't lose track of what it is that goal is at the very end of things. You just have to go and go and go until you're done. My mom says to me, the old, I guess the saying in Spanish is, no hay mal que dure 100 años ni enfermo que lo aguante. You guys ever heard that? Or there's no malady or no disease or issue or condition that lasts for 100 years, and there's not a sick person that'll deal with it. Okay, so in other words, that just means is, things might be tough now, but, it's a sacrifice. And if you put in all the effort that you can, the sacrifice will pay off. I was 25 when I graduated from UTEP, and, I thought to myself, hey, I want to go teach band, and fine. Back when I was a little kid, minimum wage used to be $4.25. And if you're really lucky, it got to be $4.75, depending if you're good at what you did. And so fine, and so I started making $4.25, working at the Ice House when I was young. And then when I was 25, 7 years later, I got a job in the El Paso district, and I was probably pulling down about, 34, 37,000-ish, What minimum wage now probably makes you maybe earn like anywhere from like $15,000 to $18,000 a year, so $15,000 to $18,000 versus $34,000 to $37,000. Big difference. It means you can do a lot of things. You can go out, you can buy the car. You can go out, you can move out of mom and dad's house, without having to, really struggle to make ends meet. You can go out and buy groceries, more groceries than you might be able to. If you have kids, hey, guess what? You can get your kids stuff, and kids are expensive. You can get them phones, you can get them tablets, you can get, in moderation, of course, and fine. And that's what you can do with a bachelor's degree, and you hear so many cliches nowadays, and you hear people say, well, the bachelor's degree is very rapidly becoming, a high school, it's having to have about the same amount of validity as a high school diploma does, so really, now you have, Department of Labor, and all other kinds of agencies saying, if you really want to get somewhere, go out and get a master's degree. Okay, true, I went out, I got a master's degree because I saw my friends going out, getting their master's degrees, and I said to myself, I'm not going to stay behind, and so I went out and I got a master's degree, and then I started teaching, and I realized, hey, you know what, this might not be the cure-all, end-all to everything. Very many people went into teaching from the business world because they thought teaching was a very secure and a very safe thing, but that's not the case anymore either. Teaching isn't as safe, anywhere near as safe as it used to be, as far as keeping a career going for years and years and years. So I said to myself, well, I might need to fall back on something. So I went out and I got a master's of business administration. You know, as soon as I finished, I got an interview for what was it? A budget analyst for the city of El Paso. You know, and I've taught band for years and years and years, and I thought to myself, oh my God, what am I going to get myself into? But there was that big test requirement, and considering the fact that I was just a dopey band director, I almost passed the test on things I've never ever seen before. You know, education will not hurt you. It's just the amount of debt you rack up that will. Okay? The other part is, you know, I guess a little bit about my family. My oldest brother is an engineer. He only has a bachelor's degree. That's it. He went to Texas A&M. And now he's, I guess, like some kind of manager. He used to work for Valero Pipelines down in Corpus Christi, and I don't think he does that anymore. He just moved to San Antonio recently. But by himself, with just a bachelor's degree that he got in 4 years. 4 years? Yeah, 4 years. No, 5. I take that back. He got it in 5. He's probably pulling down a little over $250,000 a year. What could you do with $250,000 a year? I'll tell you what I'd do. Actually, no, I won't. Could do all kinds of things. I mean, the guy is not hurting for money. He can take his kids wherever he wants. You know, my nieces and nephews, they play league sports. They do volleyball and baseball, and they're all over the place. Oh, hey, we won a tournament. We're going to go to Dallas. Mom, Dad, can you take us? Sure, let's go to Dallas. They hop a plane, they go to Dallas. Mom, Dad, there's this big tournament in Houston. Can we go? Well, it's close enough. We'll drive. You know, hop in the Yukon. We'll go, you know. And so it's you know, it's not, money's not an issue for them. But the other thing is this, and my parents, I remember they used to tell me, son, go study something else. Don't study music. And I probably should have listened, you know. And so, you know, and that's the other thing. If you're lucky enough to have your parents still, listen to them. Listen to whatever it is they tell you. You know, I mean, they're not just telling you just to get on your case and get on your nerves and get you mad. Let's not get te gusta dar lata. No, that's not the case. They're telling you for your own benefit. And so, you know, I seriously sit back and look at it and I think to myself, well, you know, I think I probably could have done anything I wanted to do, but I chose to study music. I chose to be a teacher. Okay, fine. And you know what? I love doing what I do. I get to work with students. You know, I get to kind of guide them and, you know, occasionally give them advice, you know, and then you see people grow. It's actually, it's you know, it's a good job. You know, and lots of people say, well, you know, if you really want to make money, don't go into education. And they're absolutely right. Go be teachers, go be lawyers, go be doctors, go be engineers. And if you really want to be a teacher and you're a glutton for punishment, go ahead, go to town. Okay. Interesting thing as far as being a teacher goes, you encounter, and if you have a job, okay, cool, okay, at your jobs, at your workplace, you'll encounter people and you look at them and you say, oh my God, really? How did you get here? You know, and they're the ones in charge. You're like, you're so stupid. How is it possible that you can even be in charge? Okay, see? You're at, yeah. You see principals, you know, at least we're in places where I've worked, and I've thought, you know, the same thing to myself. And so, you know, you can do one of two things. You can either stand there, or you can either stay where you are as far as your career goes, or your job, and say, hey, okay, you know what, this is a temporary thing for me. Fine, I'll just let it be, and I'll take it, and I'll just kind of do what I have to do, salute the brass, get my paycheck, fine. Or if you're working a job that you really like, and you have people like this that you encounter, you can kind of say, hey, I'm going to invest the time. I'm going to do the things I need to do so that I can climb up, you know. And how can you really climb if you're a teacher? Well, you know, the next logical step is, you know, teacher, administrator, you know, and that's kind of what I'm in the process of, you know. And so administrators make so much more money than a teacher does, you know. Of course, the other part of that, there's so much more responsibility that comes with it. Recently, actually just very recently, maybe like yesterday, part of what I had to do is I had to turn in this safety plan for the school where I currently work. And it was like about a big 200 some odd page document. And there I am. I didn't get any sleep between Thursday and Friday just because I had to put the finishing touches on this thing and turn it in. And I'm not even the principal. I was asked to do it. Absolutely. Thank you. May I have another? Fortunately now I actually work for a very good administrator, very, very understanding man. But, if you're happy where you're at and you have the education that you do, good, enjoy life. If you want something more, I say go to school yet again. School doesn't last as long as you think it does, and before you know it, it's over. Think back to grade school. Can you guys remember grade school kind of sort of like it was yesterday almost? Yeah, me too. I still kind of sit back and laugh. It's funny. And now, and I guess the bottom line is this, is if you want to advance your life, if you want to advance yourself, get more education. It definitely won't hurt. And then the most interesting thing I've seen recently too, do you guys watch 2020 at all much? New show? No? If you ever get a chance, it's kind of interesting. You find the older you get, you watch a lot more news and you pay attention to a lot more things that you really wouldn't necessarily pay attention to. One of the things I saw in 2020 was this whole I guess segment on how it is you have people that have gone to school, to even go as far as to get their doctorate degrees, and by the time they come out, the job market is very, very, very slim. And so in which case, you have people with doctorate's degrees working at call centers. Have you guys ever worked at a call center? You're not missing much. Good. Okay? And you have them maybe earning $10 an hour, but yet they put hundreds of thousands of dollars into their education. So that's the first part of the segment. The second part of the segment is they go, and what about, Johnny Q. Public over here? He went ahead and he went to a 2-year technical college and he learned how to become a plumber. Okay, fine. And as a plumber, this guy's as a master plumber now, because this guy's actually worked up, gotten his plumber's license, become a licensed plumber, whatever the case might be, and he's pulling down at least, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. So $50,000, $60,000 a year versus $10 an hour. Big difference. This guy has way more education, but that's because his job market is very slim. More education will not hurt you. What I say is, when you do go after more education, choose very wisely what it is you're going to do. I find, and even still, I have 3 master's degrees. It doesn't make me any better. It just means I have more debt than most people. Okay? What I say is, I still want to go back to school. I see these kind of interesting things on TV. What is it? The Excel Academy? Come learn how to be a computer tech and systems administrator. You know what? Totally true. And I was very seriously considering to do it, but then I started working again, and I got, just totally turned around with as much stuff as was put on us at work. So I said, well, maybe not for a while, but I still want to go to school. I think about it. What if I want to go off and be a lawyer? I can be very long-winded. Most lawyers are long-winded. I like to argue. I want to get paid for it. So go off and be a lawyer. Who's to stop me? And so the bottom line is, whatever it is you want to do, you can do, as long as you're willing to put the time and effort into it. As far as education goes, yes, there's all kinds of challenges, but there are solutions to them. My mom says to me, son, the only thing in this world that there's no solution for is death. Everything else has a solution. Okay? If you have kids, wonderful. They're a blessing. Don't let that hold you back. Go after it. Get it. It will be worth it. And if you get yourself to a point where you're at an entry-level position, the more education you have, it will open up possibilities. The principal I work for, he has his doctorate's degree, and he said to me, you know what? He said to me, Mr. Gonzalez, by the time when I finally earned my doctorate degree, that's when doors really started opening for me. Before that, he was just a coach. He was a coach, teacher, you know, a principal, campus level principal, building principal, assistant principal, high school principal. But he didn't have his master's degree for that, so it advanced him there. But he said once he got his doctorate degree, he got to teach at the university level, kind of cool. He got to be an associate superintendent of a school district, very cool. Have you seen how much these school district superintendents make here in El Paso? It's amazing. Anywhere from like 200 to maybe 300 grand a year. What can you do at 200-300? And then they get stuff handed to them like the car, the house, you know, and then there's the corruption. But that's neither here nor there. You know, my mom watches TV and she sees these news stories on these people and she says to me, son, you know, the only reason these people went to school is so they could learn how to become thieves. You know what? I can see that, but if you're really good at what you do, you don't get caught. But don't ever do that. Okay? But yes, you know, education, definitely worth it. Please. Yes, ma'am.
With work and stuff.
Right.
When you were working, what helped you not get discouraged? Like, what did you think to yourself? Because sometimes I feel like, oh, can I
Sure,
turn it
sure.
off?
Well, you know, and then looking at my paycheck at the job I had at the time was a lot of encouragement, you know. Once again, I kind of go, you know, what minimum wage at the time was like between $4.25 and $4.75. And every 2 weeks, I might come out like, if I was lucky, I'd hit $200, and I'd be like, all that, and I only got this much? No, I have to do something more, you know. And that's like, I guess initially for me, it was just very financially motivated, you know. And then once you get a little bit better off financially, you know, you'll realize it was worth it, you know. And then the other part is too, I mean, there's lots of reasons to do it. Family, for starters, you know. Would your family be proud? I'm sure they would. I don't love you anymore. You got your bachelor's degree. You know, doesn't work like that. You know, they'll be beamed with all kinds of pride. You know, there's all kinds of reasons to do it. You know, if you have kids, you know, you want something better for your kids. That's another reason to keep having at it and keep having at it. You know, as a parent, I do everything I can for my son. As parents, we all do everything we can for our children. You know, and we want our children to have something better than, or at the very least, something. In some cases, we're fortunate enough to have what it is that we had as children. But if you want your children to have something better than what you had growing up, you work and work and work, and education is just the best way to advance. And education alone doesn't. I've met people with just ungodly amounts of education, but they refuse to work. So. Not only education, and lots of work. But you know, those were my motivations. I didn't have a kid at the time, so it was very financial for me. It was all about me and me. No? Okay. Any questions for me? That's about all I got for you guys. Yes?
Why did you say that you should have listened to your dad when he told you to not study music?
That's a very noble thing, you know. I just because of the financial aspect of it, you know. I mean, if I'd have picked a different career, I probably could have made more money, you know. But that's what it was I was passionate about, and that's what it was I wanted to do, you know. And then they also say, you know what, if you can be happy at what it is you're doing, then it doesn't really matter what it is you make, you know. And at the time, I was very happy with what it was I was doing. I'm still happy with what I'm doing. I just want more. Yes?
What did you do with your music degree?
I hung it up on a wall and left it there. No, okay, seriously though, okay.
He did that too.
I'm sorry. No, but what I did do with it allowed me at least to go into teaching, you know, and I was a band director for a few years. You know, and so it opened that door for me, and then getting my foot in that door kind of opened the door for other things too. But that's, that was the first step. Yeah.
Did you want to teach?
I did. I was sick and twisted. I still am.
Who asked that question? Say it again, so they can get the mic.
Oh, did you want to teach?
I did. Now sick and twisted. Still am. Anything else? Doesn't matter. It's all good. I'm an open book. You might want to slam it shut.
I got a question.
'Kay.
He didn't mention this earlier, but he's got two. Well, someone mentioned he's got two older brothers. Both of them went to school, and they both went to Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised I actually don't know this about you. But why didn't you go there and follow them?
I didn't like maroon.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. My bad. I forgot that Jonathan's an A&M guy.
Are you really? Wow. That's great, man. No, and to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, my thinking was this. Well, you know what? I like it around here. I like El Paso. I'll even go even further than that. I'll say I love El Paso. And at the time, I couldn't really envision myself leaving. And so I said, no, I don't want any of that over there. This is where it's at. And that's why. I think about it now, and, maybe it would have done me some good to kind of go off and go somewhere else. But I've also taught out of town a few years too. And, going out and seeing different places in the world, it opens your eyes to very many things. And you get to meet all kinds of different people, learn from them, and understand very many things. There's another old saying that says, in order to be understood, you have to understand others first, and doing that definitely gave me that opportunity. So, anything else? Doesn't matter.
I got one.
Okay, what's up?
You said that you had like 3 master's degrees, right?
Yes.
What were they? You said it was music, right?
Yes, first one was music. I was initially thinking about going out and being a university band director. Yeah, but time and finances, and fine. And then I taught a while more, and I said, well, maybe something else, business administration, and that's, and my initial thinking with that was, well, wouldn't it be cool to go work human resources somewhere? So that was my thought there. And then, that whole thing about being at the job where you see someone in charge, like, oh my God, you are so stupid. How is it even possible you can be in charge? Okay, fine. And so I thought to myself, you know what? No. And I thought to myself, I think I want to run a school one day. So my most recent one was in administration. Yeah. What's up?
I don't know if you said it before, but why did it take you like so long to finish your degree plans, like to get to your part?
I didn't. Part of that was because college is too much fun. Probably more fun than it should have been. The other part was just because I think probably because of what it was I studied. At UTEP typically they give you about, or at least back then, I'm sure it's probably different some now, they gave you about 8 years on a degree plan, and I skidded in with 7. So I was still very fortunate in that respect, but it depends on what you study and depends what you do with your time too. If you have too much fun, that's great, but you got to put the work in too, and for a couple of years that wasn't necessarily the case. Yes, ma'am.
In your opinion, do you consider it is more difficult to graduate for your TEP? In your opinion, is more difficult graduate? Is more difficult?
What's more difficult?
You can be graduate for your career. In your opinion, it's more. It's more difficult. It's more difficult. It's more difficult. You graduate for UTEP or it's more easy graduate for APC. Why do you consider?
Graduating anywhere is difficult. I don't think it's necessarily easier here than it is over there. Once again, it depends on what it is you study. It depends on how much, I guess really how much knowledge you already have to work with as a base. If you're still learning some fundamentals, good. If you come in with a ton of fundamentals under your belt, it might be a little easier. I was talking about how it is you pay attention to things that you don't pay attention to as you get older. Okay. Do you guys are you much into politics? No? Okay. You'll get into politics eventually.
No.
If you saw the State of the Union address that President Obama gave, and I guess fairly shortly thereafter, there was this thing in the news about how it is President Obama is willing to give about up to maybe about $6,000 for students to start at community college, get all their basics under their belt. And that could be one of two things. You could get all your basics, or you could work on some kind of technical program. You could work on an associate's degree, whatever the case might be. And you could graduate in 2 years. It just means that program might have, it's not that it's not as difficult, it just has less requirements to it. So graduating from anywhere is tough except for high school. High school is super easy. Really, it was. I look back at it now and it's super easy.
It's true.
Yes, but.
We went to school.
Mm-hmm. And so, it's not any easier than it is any other place. It's just a matter of working at it. UTEP, you work. Here, you work. I hope that answered your question. Kind of? Sort of? See? Okay. Monday.
I think graduate is easy. For me, it's difficult after graduate to get a job.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree. And part of getting the job, parents are so smart. We should have listened to them when we were younger. My parents always say to me, son, part of the reason it's so difficult to get a job anywhere is because you have to know somebody. Así que si tiene una palanca que le pueda meter, claro, gente necesita palanca para entrar a cualquier lado. Sí o sí.
Many Santa influence.
Yeah.
Many Santa influence for
And that, yeah, no, sure. And really, I think that's the probably one of the reasons it's so hard to get a job here in El Paso. The job market's fairly slim to begin with, and if you don't necessarily have any connections anywhere, it makes it a little bit tough. But once again, if you have this really, really massive education, they say, oh my God, how could we not hire you instead of hiring this guy we know? He's a jerk anyway. Not him. No, he's a great guy and he has a ton of education. It just happened to be in that direction. Sorry. Okay. Anything else? Don't be shy. No?
Actually, I got one more.
Okay, what's up?
You talked about how your folks were telling you you're going to go to college, you're going to go to college. What do you tell your son?
I tell him the same thing. You're going to go to college. And then I say to him, unlike your mother, you're going to go, we're divorced, by the way. I throw that in there. And I say to him, no, you're going to go to college. That's it. But my son, he says to me, Dad, I want to be a doctor. And I say, that's good. And I say to him, you're going to have to study a lot. He's like, I know. Okay. We'll see. And my son's 10 now. We'll see what happens when he's a teenager, and he's into girls and this and that and parties and it's kind of funny, and even talking with my ex-wife, and she says to me, oh my God, he's so good in school and this, that, the other. I said, yes, hopefully he won't turn out like you. That's all kinds of love right there. What else? Anything else? I'm an open book. Pick my brain.
Going back on that, would
Okay.
you support him if he chose not to go to school?
On
Because-
one condition, and I haven't told him this yet. Okay.
Can we stop recording?
I'm sorry?
Stop recording? Never mind.
No. My only condition for that would be this. Actually, there's two conditions. One, he enlisted, and he was part of the Army, some branch of the armed forces, in which case, believe it or not, they actually make you go out and get an education sometime over there. So that'd be kind of like the sneaky snake way of having him get an education. The other part would be is if he just like worked and worked and worked and worked, or if I made tons and tons of money, I said, yeah, no, but and I look at my parents, so in which case, I really do think my son wants to be a mechanic, and that's fine. Oh, I don't want to go to school. I said, I understand. What do you want to do? I want to be a mechanic. That's good. You're going to go to school, but it's going to be specifically for this. So in which case, he might say, hey, you know what, Dad? You're absolutely right. I need to go learn this stuff. So it's not, pardon me, it's not a ton of algebra, like, do this quadratic equation and nah. Math has its functions in the world. My brother was very good at math. That's why he gets paid as much as he does. Anything else? Please don't be shy.
Any other questions? Well, cool. We're actually kind of right up against the clock.
All right.
Jimmy, thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.